Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Trader Deep Dive brought to you by Funding Frontier. Of course, one of the best prop firms out there. I am biased, but I know the truth, ladies and gentlemen. They give you great value for money. You just got to pass challenges, and you can become a leverage trader from 5K to 100K accounts. But without further ado, we've got a special guest. From seasoned pros who know how to trade to a newbie who just wants to learn, we've got someone all the way from Brighton. So we're going to find out whether or not he sports seagulls. However, that's irrelevant. But he was a football guy. He was a full-time teacher. And now he is a full-time trader / teacher. So without further ado. Ryan, how are you doing, sir?
Hello. Yeah, all good, thank you. Good. How are you?
Very good, thanks. I'm super excited to have you here today. Like I said, a couple of important topics in my life, football, teaching, and trading. So, like I said, I'm super stoked. Can you please tell everybody how this happened, how you went from a full-time teacher to a funded trader?
So obviously I went to university, did my teaching degree, did that for 4 years, and then COVID hit. So obviously we had to start a bit of teaching from home, and started to get very stressful, and it started to be, it wasn't quite for me. It was a lot. I found myself not really having much of a social life. I enjoyed the teaching, but a lot of work that came with it. Didn't really have much of a social life. Then COVID hit. One of my old uni friends actually messaged me, and he's like, "Yo, I've just started to get into trading, and do you want to kind of hop on board and start learning as well?" And I've never said this to anyone, by the way. This is how it all started, because it's a bit embarrassing, but I was like, yeah, right. I've always had it in the back of my mind. Yeah, it'd be cool skill set to have. So anyway, he starts like selling me this trading. I'm like, okay, you sound like selling me something. Anyway, I jump on board with it, and I started learning what he sent me and blah blah. And it turns out it wasn't even wasn't really to do with the trading. They were like just trying to, one of them schemes. They're just trying to signing people up and stuff, like a pyramid type scheme. And it was not me. Like just trying to constantly bombard people to sign up, and these shoddy trading videos. Anyway, I got myself out of that. I did not like it. Obviously, I picked up a few bits about trading, and I really, really did want to pursue it and carry on learning. And from that point, I think maybe a few months down the line, and at that point, one of my other friends was like, "I see you doing a bit of trading," and he showed me Raja Banks, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Started following him on Instagram for a bit, and then I took his course, and it went from there. Really, 4 years later, here I am.
That's incredible. So, I mean, it started from a fake scheme to now being the student that you are, teacher / applying that trade to want to learn and learning new things and that appetite, to following Raja Banks. How did you come across Raja Banks?
It's just literally one of my other mates. He saw him on Instagram.
A good mate. Is this mate better? He is better than your other mate.
Oh yeah, 100%. I don't speak to that other guy anymore. Like, it's just trying to wing me into getting his scheme. But yeah, no, this is one of my like local friends. Good friend of mine, and he I think he came across him on Instagram. And he said this guy looks pretty good, and followed him, took his course. I actually, probably to speak about it later on, but I went swings and roundabouts on a few different courses after that, but essentially came back to the strategy that I'm doing today. Is pretty similar to the one I initially learned in the first place.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm curious though, what was the initial, I mean, apart from you wanting to learn something new, and I think being the teacher in you, that makes sense, right? Always having a curiosity. But what made you specifically go down the trading route?
I think, so when I was teaching, I found myself having no social life. Even it got to the weekends, you're still constantly working, catching up on work. You get to the school holidays, everyone thinks the school holidays is this, oh, teachers are free. Like, you're not free. And mentally, you're not free, because you're constantly thinking about all the work you need to do and prep.
Mhm.
Then trading, you see it all online, and it is pretty true. It gives you a lot more sense of freedom. You can work a lot more on your own terms. You can do it from your house. You can essentially do it anywhere in the world, which I just think having that freedom to do it is just amazing. And it's so much better for me mentally as well. Like, I'll be honest, like I've had a few mental health problems before after the teaching, which sent me a bit downhill. But this kind of gave me a new lease of life, and like having that freedom, of course it can be stressful sometimes trading, but it gives you that freedom. And if you can crack it and get there, like it feels good.
That's interesting in terms of, you said, okay, you went through something, obviously teaching, so you're interested in the autonomy, being able to do what you want, and then the freedom of being able to do where you want to, wherever you want to do it. What I find quite intriguing is the football element. So teaching makes sense, but now you've got the competitive nature of being a footballer. How do you merge these together in terms of the appetite for trading?
Well, it has its ups and downs, really. So I've played football my whole life, essentially. And with that comes a lot of competitiveness. Like now, from all that football, I hate losing. I do not like it.
Yeah.
Even as a child, if I lost on the weekend, like at the beginning of the weekend, that's the whole weekend ruined. Until you get to next week, you're thinking about that loss. Yeah. You're the same.
Exactly. I mean, I'm the same. This is why I'm kind of prompting this question, because I want to know how you get through this. Because it's one thing winning, which is amazing, and you take a lot of losses when you're trading. So it's managing that. How do you manage all of this?
100%. So it took, I'm not gonna lie, it took a while to adapt. When I felt like I had the strategy down to a T, essentially, it is in win wise, feeling good, getting 5 or 6 wins in a row. If I then took a loss, I couldn't hack it. I could not hack taking a loss. So a few years ago, if I took a loss, I'm instantly revenge trade, another trade. And then I'm looking for trades that aren't even there. But I'm like, the next candle's going up, I'm going to take that. Next candle. Honestly, it was so bad. And that's what it took time for me to realize it. It took me blowing an account, blowing a prop firm challenge. It took time after time, again, to keep failing to me to realize that you just have to accept the losses. And without accepting losses, you're not going to get anywhere in trading. And it might have taken me a bit longer than the average person because of that competitive nature in me, but you have to accept losses. And if you can't, unfortunately, you won't make it in trading. And there was a point where I was thinking, am I going to be able to do this? Because I genuinely just can't accept it. But yeah, it took time. It just letting yourself accept time. You kind of have to channel your inner mental brain to you have to accept it.
Yeah, but I mean, what's, again, a valid point that you're saying, accepting it, and you're saying it's the competitive nature. Similar in my case, like when I'm like, oh, I've lost now. No, I don't want to see a chart. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to look at any news for like the next couple of days, because I need to just, be quiet and be by myself. But you talking about being so competitive, it is interesting that now you took those losses to create a strategy in terms of going, well, those losses are going to help me formulate a strategy that is going to help me win. And that's the point that we're going to be unpacking now, that I'm sure a lot of people are very interested in listening to. But before we do that, I've got one last thing in terms of this whole social aspect. You started off with friends. One pointed you off in the wrong direction, and another one steered you in a better direction. We speak about being stuck in COVID, which is isolated, right? And you went through a little mental health issue there, not little, but you went through something. So in terms of being on a trading journey, how significant is it having the support of someone or a friend or community? And how does it also influence your trading in a positive or negative way?
Oh, it's absolutely huge. I do think it's essential. If you're kind of lonely and on your own, just trade on your own, it can really get to you mentally. I feel like you'll be in your own head. The fact having someone else to talk to about trading that gets it, you're able to bounce ideas off each other. Now, it's positive because you got someone to talk to through your highs, through your lows, and they get it. And then you can bounce good trade ideas off each other, which I think is really key. However, it can also have that negative impact as well. If you've got someone you're trading with, you might see the chart a bit differently. Your strategy might differ slightly. There has been a time before where I've spoken to a friend and they kind of went off learning a bit like ICT kind of fair value gap strategy, where I'm sticking to like kind of like my support and resistances. And there was a time where I had like a candle closure below and I'm like, right, I can get in this trade. And they're saying, no, there's a fair value gap there. It's going to go the other way. Then instantly there's a conflict. So that then makes you second guess yourself. And then you see it play out and you're like, why did I just not? So it can have your positives, it can have your negatives. Yeah, literally. You're like, oh. But yeah, that's where I think it can have its pros and cons. But even just having like family and friends around you that you can just talk about it with does help with mentally as well. If you're stuck in your own head on your own, you can probably go a bit insane, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So I mean, it's having that balance of going, how much do you share, but you also need some support, but you don't want people to influence your direction or your decisions. That's the one thing that I'm busy struggling with on my side too, in terms of like trying to work that out, where you getting the news from, who's saying this, and then going against what you're doing, and you think, but you're not good enough. So then you start listening to other people. But apart from that, now, Ryan, it's a day in the life of your pre-London session in your New York routine. What are your steps, your specific steps in terms of making the leveraged funds work for you?
Was in like in terms of my daily routine?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So obviously in the UK, pre-London starts at 6 a.m. for me. I set my alarm for 6 a.m. Normally snooze it once, have a little look at the chart. I'll mark out my zones for the day, starting with the daily time frame, go all the way down to the 15-minute. I'll mark out my zones, send my analysis into my group, grab some breakfast, grab a coffee, come to the computer, and I'll wait. I'll sit and wait patiently. I've drawn up my zones. I'm going to wait for my closure. I'm just going to sit and wait patiently until I get my closure. Then I'll trade up to London Open, and then I'll trade a couple of hours after London Open. So from 6 till 10, that 4-hour block I've traded. I'll do a live stream as well, that in that block. Typically after that hour after, I do see a bit of a decline in volume, which is what I like to see. I like to see volume. So I'll have an hour break, grab a bite to eat. And then I'll come back to the charts for New York and trade a few hours of that, and then stop about 4:30 in the evening, late afternoon, because again, when that London closes and New York, back end of New York, volume starts to die down. So just strict rule to myself, don't trade past that time. And yeah, that's kind of like the day in the life of Ryan.
But that day in the life of Ryan is informed by a couple of things, right? It's the session that you've chosen to trade in fits within your lifestyle, and then your strategies are influenced by that session, and then you make them both work. Is that how you adapted your strategies, or is that you went into the strategy and you were trying to fit it into the session?
For me, I need volume, and the London and the New York sessions are typically the higher volume sessions. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I won't ever trade Asian session, and obviously Asia for me is bedtime. So, which worked out quite nicely for me. I've got the morning is London for me, and then the afternoon is the New York session. So it's worked out with my lifestyle anyway. It just fit in. I'm quite lucky in that sense, because I know some people around the world might have to wake up at 2 a.m. or something to trade London or New York. So I think I got quite lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, that is definitely a positive. But we actually had someone on last week who was also fantastic. He was training in the Indian session, and how he made that work for him. So he doesn't even look at charts specifically or trend lines or anything. He just looks at the pips, and he trades specifically on that because he knows at a certain time everyone's going to bed. So how you look for volume, he looks for something else. So that's what I'm trying to understand there. So your focus is volume. So then the question is, when we're looking at the volume side and we're saying, cool, risk management and protecting your capital, managing your growth, how do you go about doing this?
Essentially, I don't trade. Well, managing my capital, I'll make sure when I'm putting on a trade, I rarely don't ever want to risk more than 2% per trade, and that's like kind of like my cap. Essentially, that 2% will always be kind of like below the previous candle when I enter the trade, candle wick. And then when I get to like maybe like 1 or 2% in profit, I'll secure 90%. And then normally 1 or 2 trades a day I'll take. After that, I won't do anything else. I'll close the charts, and I will have a look at the charts still, just to see, just to keep learning. Like, I feel like everyone's always learning. No matter how much experience, I'm on 4 years now, and I feel like I've still got so much to learn. And I'm sure there's people with 10, 20 years experience, and they're still wanting to learn more. But yeah, I think banking that 0.5%, 1% or 2% a day, and just keep doing that, compounding it up every single day, that's fine. And of course, you're going to take some losses in there, and you have to factor that in. But then you look at it, what was your performance like over the whole week? Even if you're getting 1 or 2% a week, like, you're making growth, and I think that is amazing. I think there's a lot of social media things out there, and people making 50-60% a week, if they are, and I just think it's not realistic. And I think just making 1-2% a week, like, that's absolutely fine. Like, especially if you've got like 100k, 200k account, like, that's a lot of money. 1%'s a lot.
Yeah, that is quite a lot. That is, so don't get greedy. Don't listen to the outside noise. Stick to what you know. Curious though, you said you're 4 years in and you're still learning. Do you ever see what are the metrics for you when you've learned something that you see it and you go, okay, cool, I've got a strategy that's working for me, but I'm seeing something new here and I want to apply this to my strategy. Like, at what point do you make the decision that I take the risk of applying something new to a working strategy?
I've got a nice example, actually, because it was really recent. So on the Funding Frontier phase 1 that I did not so long ago, I documented every single trade, put it all out on social media, every single trade, told all my group every single trade. And I was securing like 0.5%, 1% a trade, whether that's 10, 15 pips each time, and got there in the end. Then I did a whole big review on YouTube of every single trade. And so I critically analysed every single trade that I went through. So it's 21 trades. And I think 80% of them trades where I've secured 10, 15 pips at, they ran for like 20, 30, 40, maybe sometimes 60, 70 pips. I was like, okay, that I know my strategy works, but actually, could I evolve it a little bit here, a bit more advanced? And then took, with another firm, I just did a cheap one. I just took another one, phase 1 and phase 2, passed in 6 days, because all I did was just hold them trades longer. So that for me was a learning curve. Even 4 years down the line, I'm still like adapting to that a little bit. But I've seen from evidence that I can hold trades a bit longer for a bit more risk reward ratio. But yeah, I'm happy what I'm doing now, and I know it's profitable. But yeah, there can be room for development all the time, for sure.
Yeah, and that's definitely the teacher side of you. I don't know if it's the football side of you. But Ryan, with regards to your best ever trade, now this is wild. So you got 100 pips on gold in a day, and you caught it live. And I don't know, if some point, maybe we should even get that video if you want to share it with me, put it in this section right now. But I mean, you caught this moment live. Walk us through this.
So it was, I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Started live streaming with my group, and we had my 2 zones. We had our two zones drawn out, and we got our closure, and we were actually at gold all-time new highs. Typically at that point, you do see a lot of volatility and volume. We got the closure, and we were waiting patiently, couldn't find an entry, candle by candle went. And then eventually we got this really nice liquidity grab to the downside. I call it the MC play, market cruiser play. We've got the liquidity grab on the next candle, taking out a lot of buyers already, trading their stops. And then we flip and we came back up to break the previous high. We entered the trade at these gold all-time new highs because I love the setup. And it spiked big time. I secured like 80-90% after around 30 pips, I feel. And then we were like, right, we're at all-time new highs. Let's hold these runners. And I just said 100 pips. Let's make it to the 3 figures. And it just kept going and going and going. And it was absolute scenes. And it hit the TP, full TP, and everyone was just going crazy. Like, oh my God, 100 pips, gold all-time new highs. So yeah, that was definitely my best ever trade. And yeah, it was scenes.
Yeah, but that's ballsy, man. Like, what made you want to do that as well? Like, when you saw it, I mean, people taking stop losses and you're like, nah, we're entering. Where was the conviction in that decision? Where did it come from?
It's the initial setup.
Yeah.
It's just that setup. I love that play. Like, we've closed outside our most recent resistance. We're going into gold to all-time new highs, but that liquidity grab, making a nice big wick down. Like, there's so many people think, okay, we're all-time new highs now. This is where we're going to reverse, and we start driving down. So people are like, sell. We're coming back down now, and then it comes back up to flip. And as it breaks that previous wick again, that's my entry because the sellers are in, the buyers have been taken out that have put in their stop loss trail in. So that's the perfect entry, and then bang, there's the spike of volume. So yeah, one of my favorite setups for sure. So felt good about that, and we're like, yeah, let's hold the runners for 100 pips. Let's make some history.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna have to see that video just to see your reaction in real time.
Cool,
yeah. So that would be really awesome if we could get that. But I think what we're gonna do now is, on that note, because you're getting me excited and we're talking about this now, we're gonna just whip up the demo, and you're gonna walk us through a couple of the setups that you look for, what you've done in the past, what you would do in this instance right now. I'm gonna pull up your screen, and then you can just take us through your steps.
So where did I have it? Okay, here, cool. Let me just move these lines out of the way.
Also, just before you continue, Ryan is not colorblind. He just likes this interface.
Yeah. Right, so this is essentially similar to that setup I was just explaining from the 100 pip trade. So came to the charts at about, so here we go, 6 a.m. here, this candle here.
Okay.
Essentially, come up, get in the morning. I'll mark out our most recent support, which is at this level here. Then I'll mark out our most recent resistance at this level here. And then from that point...
on that note, Ryan, sorry to interrupt. So Ryan is a scalp trader. So he's doing this every day, and he's looking for, what are you looking for? Your resistance levels and your support levels. And now this is how you're marking this out. Okay, let's go. Continue.
Yeah, for sure. So then we've got a support here, we've got a resistance, and we've formed this new range now. Now, we've got clean candles to the downside, and then looking left, wherever it is, it's quite a way away.
Yeah, we've
got these clean candles.
Time frame.
Yeah, this is the 15-minute time frame. We've got clean candles to the left-hand side, and then more clean candles to the left of that. Let's go back to where we were. So step 1, new range formed, got the resistance and then the support. Then the next step, I'm looking for a candle to close outside. So if you can see this candle here, this candle here, 6:45. This candle is the first candle to close above that most recent resistance.
Okay.
Now, one of my rules is if we do move from the bottom of the range to the top of the range, I don't want to straight away take that trade because we've already moved over 50 pips. So I'm not looking to take that trade yet. However, the next candle opened. We immediately broke all of those previous lows. You can see this wick here, broke the previous low. Yeah. Now, already I'm anticipating if we can flip and then break that previous wick. So if we can flip and break that previous high, that's my entry. So we had the big wick down. I do believe I did actually anticipate the play at this point. So I did enter on the flip because it was a nice healthy like 10 10, 15 pip wick anyway. I didn't hold for that long, but entered on the flip of the trade. We then began to break the previous high. So really, really nice, clean, high volume time, 7 a.m., just before London Open. And then, as you can see, we had a really, really nice drive. I didn't hold this whole time, secured after about 15, 20 pips, 90%, and left runners for a bit longer. But yeah, really, really nice trade. It's one of my absolute favorite setups.
So you literally just marked out your support level, your resistance level, you waited for the breakout, and then you entered just after that. And then you took profits at the top there.
Pretty much, yeah. Securing partials along the way. But yeah, essentially just got my support and resistance. I love this. And then you have to wait for a closure outside of that range. If we don't have a closure, I'm not going to be looking to take a trade. But that closure above indicated to me that we are going to make a bullish move in the market.
All right. So that's the patience coming in and the discipline, because people might just get too excited and throw something in there.
Yeah, 100%. People might be... I mean, even if, say, this candle, we've got the closure above, and then if we didn't get this play that I liked, I wouldn't have entered, even if we broke the previous wick, because we've moved so far bullish already. There's a high probability that we're going to have a pullback at some point anyway. But yeah, because we got the play, I was happy to take it. But if you move too far in one direction, you print in 3 or 4 candles in one direction. For me, just wait for your setup. You have to stay patient and disciplined. If you're rushing a trade, it's so easy to just get a rejection at the break of that wick. So yeah, that's kind of my essential rules there.
And then at that point, your position sizing, when you've seen that, obviously this is based in terms of your strategy. So there's some validation. So you got conviction. How much would you be putting down in that moment there?
So what did I do this on? Normally, essentially, I don't want to be risking really more than 2% risk. So if it's say it's a 10K account, I don't really want to be risking. If I don't want to be risking more than 200 on there, but around the 2% mark, I'll be looking to risk. Sometimes I do have a negative RR. I know it's such a big taboo thing in trading, but for me, I pride myself in having a higher win rate. So with that high win rate, I'm able to secure, if I've got like a just below 1-to-1, I'm still happy with it. I'm all for if you've taken profits out of the market, you've won for that day. Whatever it is, of course, if it's 1 or 2p, like that's not valid. But if you've taken a slice out of that market for that day, you've won. You've beat the markets that day. So be proud of it. If it carries on going for longer, like just don't worry about it. Just go do the same thing the next day. And if you can keep consistent with a high win rate at that point, then that's your strategy set. You can be happy with that.
Okay, I like that. Let's look at something else here. Let's find us another sort of position. If you're analyzing the market as is right now, in terms of how you would assess it and how you'd break it down and what you would do next.
Okay, let's go to see what lifetime. Let me get this mess out of the way quickly. Okay, it's really messy at the moment, but market's not looking too clean. But let me move all this out of the way. I'll be with you.
You're not marking any flags or anything like that. You're literally just using support and resistance markers.
Essentially, yeah. So, but if I was to say I'm just coming to the charts right now, so it's all fresh. I'm coming to the daily. I can see that the daily is pushing very bullish. So I've got that in my mind. And then coming down to the 4-hour, previous 4-hour, my thinking, the previous 4-hour, we have finished very small body bearish. We've broken the lows in the previous 4-hour and we've broken the highs. So that's a red flag to me, making it really unpredictable for the next candle, whether it's going to go bullish or bearish. So I've got that on the higher time frame in my mind. It's a bit of a red flag. So not too eager to jump in anything. Again, 1 hour, looking very choppy and messy. And then I'll come down to like the half an hour and the 15-minute. And on the 15-minute, that's where essentially I'll be looking to mark out my support and resistance. So coming down to our most recent support is at this point here, 2676. However, we have One, we have got this wick fill, so that's nice. Say the wick's not there, we look to the left, it's pretty choppy. So I wouldn't be looking to trade to chop. I have to have clean candles to the left-hand side. So I would then move my support zone to here. And at that point, I'm going to wait for a closure below 2673, 366 to fill these clean candles. With target area will be at the bottom to that support there. So I'll be looking for a closure below there, and I will literally sit on my hands and wait until that closure comes. Then I'll be looking to mark up my most recent support resistance, which is essentially this area here, 2683,174. First point of interest, I'll be looking to take profits at the wick fill at 2686. So it's pretty healthy and up wick fill, 30 pips. And then we've got this resistance up here. But say, look, as we can see now, it's not going to be forming that resistance. I'll be using this resistance up here. All-time new highs. So we've got no data to go off to see if we've got clean candles to the left-hand side. So at this point, what I do, I use $5 increments. So say 2690 will be a point of interest where I'll be looking to take profits, then 2695, and etc. etc. Another point, yes, I am waiting, and I'm going to be patiently waiting for a closure outside this range. I know it's very big at this point, but again, the higher time frame was very messy, unpredictable. But yeah, I'm going to wait for that closure. But I'm not just going to trade off any old closure. We might, I don't know what color this is going to be, but we might get a closure above. We might get a closure above that resistance, but then finish just like that with no top wick. And if we finish with no top wick, that's a red flag for me. I'm not going to take the trade. It makes it more unpredictable whether the next candle is going to go bullish or bearish. So I'll just leave it, and I'll wait again for another setup. Another setup that I would like to see. But yeah, you can't take the trade off the bat if you get that closure. That's where I think a bit more experience comes in, where you need to know and home in on candlestick analysis. What candles look healthy? Has it got a healthy wick? Has it got a healthy bottom wick as well? So you do need to see the actual candles at the point of closure.
Okay, so what is an example of a good healthy wick for everyone listening?
It's hard to say in terms of actual pips because, volume can be different on every single day. The pip count can be different on every single day. But a healthy wick, we've roughly between 5 and 10 pips, I'd say a healthy wick is. You've got a healthy bottom wick. You've got a healthy top wick. Just looks like, and a nice healthy body as well. Healthy body, healthy top wick, healthy bottom wick. That's a really clean candle. And then it gives you a chance to say, right, we've left a 5 pip wick at the top end. If you have a nice pullback on the next candle, and then you proceed to then break the previous candle wick high, then that you're having some good clean candles, good market structure. That's essentially what I'm looking for. And I typically will enter on the break of the previous wick, sometimes the flip, depending on the setup and situation. But yeah, I'm typically looking for the break of the previous wick to just indicate that the market will continue going in that direction.
Okay. Those are, and you see, when you've broken it down like that, it makes it fairly approachable or easy to document and say, okay, cool, those are the indicators that I'm looking for. I mean, when we're going back to how you started this and you mark these support levels at the bottom, you've told us a successful trade when you've just hit past resistance. Now, when you're looking for your entry level in the reverse, would you just approach it the same way, just obviously upside down in the reverse way of looking for your entry?
As in, like, so if we close below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you more likely in your strategy? Are you more likely to take the top or the bottom? Or does it matter?
It doesn't matter. So with this strategy, if you've got the clean candles to the left-hand side, whether it's above the resistance or below the support, if you've got the clean candles and you get that closure, I'm absolutely looking for both sides of the markets. Now, however, if your daily bias, so in this instance, is bullish, and obviously gold is very, very bullish at the moment. If you've got the daily bias of it being bullish, then great. You would want to see, hopefully, you'd want to get the closure above. That would be the more favorable way to go, because you're bullish. You want to see the bullish trend carry on. So you're more inclined to hold positions if you're with the trend. But now, if you're getting a closure below in this instance with the clean candles, yes, it's a valid setup. However, I'm more inclined to I will take the trade still. I'm more inclined to close maybe at 10, 15 pips, because at any given point, you can continue that uptrend. You're essentially taking a counter trend trade. I'm more inclined to not hold it as long and just be happy with that trade at a lesser RR, and I'm fine with that.
That's brilliant, Ryan. I think that was amazing advice. So for everyone listening, I'm pretty sure they're going to be making notes out of this. But before we completely shut down this demo that you're doing and we move on to the next thing, give us a few examples going back and showing us some clean candles that you look for. I know you've drawn them superbly over there, and we kind of get the gist out of it, but let's just quickly highlight those clean, and you can circle them and say, here's an example, here's an example, here's an example.
Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, so
what about
essentially
the fake out there? Yes.
Yeah. So just maybe to the downside here. Again, if I mark out on most recent support here, and resistance up here, because we've got these clean candles up here. Essentially here, here's the clean candles. This is what you're looking for. You need to have these clean candles to the left-hand side. And as you can see, this candle here was the first candle to close that side of this newly formed range at this time. So this time is actually just before New York open. So again, high volume time. This is the first candle to close that side of the range. We've got clean candles to the left-hand side. At the break of that previous week, you can take the trade. And as you can see, let me draw that out for you guys. So you can take that position here. I've got another tip as well. But essentially, you're looking to fill the rest of the clean range. But again, you can secure partials along the way. We already had a really nice drive down here. So again, I would be absolutely secure enough to like 15, 20 pips. And you can see we've got way more than that, like 50 pips. But if I just take that away as well, it's a bit clearer. As you can see, this candle that did close outside the range, it had no top wick, which gives a good indication that there's a lot of bearish volume at that time. It didn't have any opportunity or any chance to even create a top wick, which means sellers are in full control at this point in the market, at this point in time. So the candle that did close below, no top wick, a lot of bearish momentum at this point. Take this out to break the previous wick, and as you can see, we had a really nice trade to the downside there.
So then at what point would you make the trade then, after you've gotten that confirmation there? Strong selling indicator, the bears are running high. At what point would you enter the market?
So as soon as we break this previous wick, I'll delete this circle is a bit clearer.
That's
so
exactly
as soon as we break,
the
break of the previous wick. Yeah, but ideally this candle here was the one to break that wick, but yeah. But again, I've just done this straight away off the 15-minute time frame. Again, I'm always going to be looking at the half an hour, the 1 hour, the 4 hour. Ideally, the more time frames that align, the more secure your trade's going to be. Let's say, for example, you had a nice clean setup, which looks clean on the 15-minute. But then you go up to the half an hour and the hourly, and you see perhaps there's a candle that closed outside with no top wick. And that's a red flag. Just don't take the trade. You need to have the time frames aligning with each other in order to take that trade. It gives you more confidence, there's more confirmations, and in that instance, more confidence to take the trade. If you're just taking it off solely the lowest time frame, which is I look for my entries in the 15-minute. If you're solely just taking it on the 15-minute and not even looking at the other time frames, as soon as you enter that trade, you're going to be panicking because you haven't got all the extra confirmations. You need to, the more confirmations you have, let's say you're a group of people and you're saying, shall I go to the shop and buy that apple over there for 50p? And if you've got 4 people and 3 of them are telling you, no, don't buy that apple, it's way overpriced, are you going to go and take that? And only one person is telling you to do it. Are you going to go and buy that? You should not really, if you've got 3 people telling you to. But if all 4 of them people, or even 3 out of the 4 tell you, yeah, great price, the apple looks great, looks really juicy, yummy, you're going to be like, okay, yeah, I'll go for it, because you've got more confidence then if you feel like you should do it. And then 4 other people, which essentially are their 4 other time frames, telling you, yeah, great, go for it. You've got that confidence. So, yeah.
There you go, guys. It's Apples and Trading with Ryan. That was amazing. I love that. Thank you so much. That's actually very good. Get your confirmation in, get your biases sorted out, and tick those lists. Get that checklist going in terms of what you value. I love that, Ryan. I think before we move over, now we're in the latter part of the section where we're going to end off with some key bits of advice. I mean, everything you've done has been phenomenal. I'm sure there's a lot of learnings there. People, I hope you've taken out your notes and you've made those notes, because I know I have mentally, and I'm going to be going back and writing this down. But the question I have for you is obviously competitive nature, the losses, and staying disciplined. How did you overcome these little issues that you managed to get over?
Essentially, failing a lot, getting loss after loss, blowing accounts after accounts, going through loads of highs and then blowing it again. And then the next time you tell yourself, I'm not going to do it again, you go on a good streak and you do it again and again and again. And then it just comes to a time where enough is enough. You can't keep failing. And essentially, if you want to create this life for yourself where you want to be in control, you want to be in control of your trades, you want to kind of supply for your family, friends, you want to do these nice things, you have to be disciplined. And if you don't do it, you won't get there. You're going to have to go back to whatever you were doing before. And for me, having that in my head, going back to what I did before, was probably the main driving force, where I don't really want to go back to like a full-time teacher. It kind of sent me downhill in the end. So I have to make this work. And if I don't learn from my losses, then you're not going to I'm just like mentally saying, Ryan, you're not going to make it. You have to do it. But then at the same time, like I had my girlfriend just keep spurring on, you can't do this. You can't keep doing these silly trades or like revenge trades. But like in a positive way, like, so someone like that, friends and family, girlfriend, really a support network around you to tell you like to keep going. You know, you shouldn't have done that trade. Don't do it again. Of course, I went and did it again 5 more times, but eventually it got there in the end where, yeah. And I'm not being honest, like to this day, like I will take the odd mistake or a silly trade. Because I feel we are all human and no one's perfect. But now it's realizing for me, oh, that was a silly trade. Like I shouldn't have done that. But now they happen like once in a blue moon. Whereas it used to be 5 times a week taking in silly trades. But now it's once in a blue moon. You know, you're more accountable for your mistakes. So you have to take accountability, I think, essentially.
Ryan, well said. And like I said already, if you're not making notes, Ryan, just end off with the crucial bit of information there. Learn from those mistakes, get them in. Don't get too excited. I think traders generally are quite optimistic about life. That's what I'm trying to like pick up here. And then you get excited and you want to go into the next thing, but the next one will always come. In this case, learn from that. Be pragmatic. Look for those key indicators. Last bit of advice there from you, Ryan. The number one piece of advice you would give anyone and everyone listening to this, what would that be?
Absolutely. Number one piece of advice is you have to stick to one strategy. Now, any new trader that I ever come across, whether they're messaging me on Instagram, I'm always happy to help anyone. And I just absolutely stress, please stick to one strategy, because going off my experience and so many other traders' experiences, if you don't stick to one strategy, you'll go swings and roundabouts. You'll get in this vicious cycle. You'll learn a little bit about one, and then
Mhm.
you'll have a little bit of success, and then you'll lose, and you'll be like, okay, that doesn't work. You go into another one, and you go into another one, and you go into another one. Then you've accumulated all this information, all these different strategies, and you come to the charts, and you'll get that analysis paralysis where you're like, what on earth is the right way to trade here? Because you've got all these different bits of information. Now, if you just stick to one strategy, and I pray that all these new traders can just stick to one. The only information you've got is that information. And if it's a nice, well back-tested strategy and it works, it's consistent, you're fine with that strategy. You don't need to do anything else. When you take a loss, please take it on the chin, because loss is part of the game, and just keep consistently with that strategy. Because I did one, I did 3 others, and the strategy that I'm now using today, pretty much with a few little tweaks, is the one I did at the beginning. So save yourself 3 years and just stick to that one strategy, because I went on a 3-year bender of going through different strategies. So if you're going to take something away from this call, then please just stick to one strategy.
Yeah, brilliant, Ryan. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Stick to one strategy. Right. Take your first step in trading. Be like Ryan. Come out here, start your trading journey, and do it with Funding Frontier. You got a 2-step challenge or a 3-step challenge. You can be a leveraged trader. So you've got a challenge, and I mean, Ryan can speak through this. You first go through the challenge, and then you do the verification phase. The challenge is where you see what you're about, what you can do, what you can't do, and you're doing it at the expense of someone else's money, which is amazing. And then if you pass, amazing. You're in the game, and you're part of the Funding Frontier family. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't learned that much, I don't know what to tell you. There was a lot here. Ryan, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. And for all the dream chasers, the aspirational traders, and the side hustlers, we want to say thank you. We want to say see you soon.
Very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure, Claudio. Thank you very much.
Awesome. To everyone else, if you don't know what to be cool. Peace out.